Good morning to you all. Happy to meet you once again. Let us now study a lesson related with archaeology. Discovering Tut, the saga continues. Yes, I hope you have all got your textbooks with you. So look into the textbook. Let us see something new and something interesting. So Tut actually is Tutankhamun. See, let me repeat once again. Tutankhamun. So Tutankhamun. So he was an Egyptian pharaoh, and he was the last of his royal family to rule during the end of 18th dynasty. So it was from 1334 to 1325 BC. BC, you know, before Christ. Is 1334 BC, which means approximately BC. Now it is AD 2021. So 2000 plus 1300 approximately. Yes, that means 3300 years before. There is a king in Egypt, and his name in Egyptian way of pronunciation Tutankhamun. Actually, it is Tut-Ankh-Amun. So actually, Amun is a sun god. See, during that time they would take the name of some gods, and his father was Tutankhaten. So Amun was sun god, Aten also was sun god. See, actually Aten is a sun god giving his rays directly into the hands of men. So one god can have many incarnations now. Like Vishnu having 10 avataras. All one god. In the same way, so Amun and Aten both are sun gods. So if you study history, you will know, you will find that there were many gods. And there were gods in all times of history. So you take, for example, Iliad and Odyssey, Greek, epic plays by Homer. In that you can find a lot of gods: god of love, god of war, and god of hate. So many gods were there. So these gods are there. So people create them according to their likes or dislikes. Actually, those forces whom they cannot control, those forces which they cannot control, they began worshipping. See, thunder and lightning also was once upon a time worshipped and considered to be gods. Sun, moon, all were gods once upon a time. Anyhow, our story of Tutankhamun. So it happened more than 3300 years before. Yes. So when during that time, when someone like a king or some very important person is dead, the body will be mummified. You may have heard of mummies of Egypt. The body will be mummified, made into mummies. Is it not so? So using some resins. See, actually resins is a mixture of so many secretion of some plants. So using them, body will be something like embalming. Suppose somebody dies in America even now, the body simply cannot be brought, suppose by accident, etc. Embalming should be done. So this embalming will cost you a lot, even lakhs. After that only they would allow, the body to be brought to any other nation. Many countries do that, especially America. In the same way, so the body will be mummified and buried in a large pyramid. Yes, you know the shape of pyramids, etc. You might have seen in pictures, etc. Okay, so the body will be mummified and buried in large stone pyramids. Yes, in such a way, our King Tut was buried, and later on it was found out. Okay, how it was found out, who it was who to found out we are going to see in this lesson, our Tutankhamun. Okay, I take the textbook, all of you. I mean, page number 22, 23. Okay, Discovering Tut, the saga continues. Saga means a story of heroic exploits. In a way, simply story. So, heroic story, the story of our Tut continues. It goes on. Yes, the story of our Tutankhamun goes on, or it continues. Okay, now. So, take the textbook, all of you. Let us see the story of our Tutankhamun. He was just a teenager when he died. Yes, he died very young. He was a teenager when he died. And his father was Tutankhamun. And he married, his half-sister. So during that time, his father also was a king. These kings used to have so many wives. So many would be there. One would be queen. The remaining all will be there in the palace. And they will have many children. And Tutankhamun had known 6 daughters. Maybe from many, through many wives. So he married his half-sister. Okay, now? So he was just a teenager when he died. When he died, our Tut was a teenager. The last heir of a powerful family. H-E-I-R, not hair, but heir. H is silent in a way. So heir, is not hair, but heir of a powerful family. Heir means successor. So he was a successor of a very powerful family that had ruled Egypt and his empire for centuries. His dynasty, not him, not he alone, ruled the empire of Egypt for many centuries. Yes, he was laid to rest. Our boy, teenage boy, was laid to rest. Laden with, means loaded with so much gold. Yes, they believed in afterlife. So they believed in afterlife. They thought that when they die, they can take all the possessions into their next world. Maybe heaven or something like that. So they would carry all this gold, all what they like during their life here. When they lived here. So they would take all those things with them. It will be buried with that dead body. So laden with gold, and eventually forgotten. Later on, our Tut was forgotten. So let us see the interesting story of our Tutankhamun. He was just a teenager. Yes, when he died. The last heir of a powerful family he was. The last successor of a powerful family that he was. He had ruled, the family that had ruled Egypt and his empire for many centuries. He was laid to rest, laden with gold, and eventually forgotten. Since the discovery of his tomb, B is silent, tomb, not the tomb, B is silent. So since the discovery of his tomb in 1922 AS, his tomb was discovered in the year 1922. The modern world has speculated, so many speculation, guesswork about what happened to him. The modern world began speculating as to what happened to him, how he died, what is the reason for his death, with the murder being the most extreme possibility. Even it can be murder. He might have been killed. Of course, kingship, power can make you do anything. Is it not so? Yes, the murder might be the extreme possibility because the excavation, discovery and study all taken place in 1922. Yes. Now leaving his tomb for the first time in almost 80 years. So, Tut has has undergone a CT scan. So now his body has gone through a CT scan. What is CT scan? CT means what? Computed tomography. That is CT. Computed tomography. See, that is what is tomography? High resolution, computer scanning. So his body has undergone this CT scan to find out, all the details. They will study about it. You see? Okay. So Tut has undergone a CT scan that offers new clues. This CT scan of his body offered new clues about his life and death. So new ideas, new clues had been found out about his life and death. Yes. That, and provides precise data. It provides the CT scan and the study provides precise, accurate data for an accurate forensic reconstruction. So for the last 80 years he had been forgotten. Now we began to study once again about our Tut and his story and how he died, what happened to him, who he was, who all were his relatives, all these things now being studied. And a forensic reconstruction. So, the story is being reconstructed, studying forensic evidences of the boyish pharaoh. So, he was a boy when he died. He died as a teenager, and all these things were, examined and studied, and a forensic reconstruction is being made about the story of Tutankhamun. Yes. So, he was found out in 1922, and afterwards also he was forgotten. Discussion was going on. Now the story is being reconstructed as a accurate forensic reconstruction of the boyish pharaoh being done now. An angry wind stirred up ghostly dust. The story goes on to say, an angry wind, there came a wind, stirred up ghostly dust. Dust being flown, stirring, ghostly dust, deadly and ghostly, terrible. As King Tut was taken from his resting place. For the first time our King Tut was taken. When he was taken, there was heavy wind and dust in the ancient Egyptian cemetery. In the ancient Egyptian cemetery known as the Valley of Kings. The cemetery is a place where people are buried. So this cemetery is known as the Valley of the Kings. The place where he was buried, the cemetery is known as the Valley of the Kings. So when his body was taken out from the tomb, there was heavy wind and dust also was there. Dark-bellied clouds had, there came dark-bellied, means thick clouds, had scurried across, means moving quickly, began moving quickly. The desert sky. Yes, now it is almost like a desert where he is buried. So desert sky was covered with the dark clouds all day, and now were veiling the stars. Means covering or hiding the stars. Veil, something that covers. So covering or hiding the stars in casket grey. Casket grey. See, what does it mean? It means that as if these twinkling stars are there in a box, box, and in that the stars are twinkling. Is it not so? Like jewels, in a casket. So, dark-bellied clouds are scurried across. So at that time the clouds are hidden. The stars, and stars seem to be like jewels in a casket. Jewels will be shining now, diamonds and all. precious jewels. So even if it is kept in a box, what happens? It will be shining from there. So the cloud was there everywhere. The cloud was hiding the stars, covering the stars. From that cloud, stars were twinkling like jewels laid in a casket or in a box. So it was so beautiful, that's all. It was 6 p.m. Time was 6 o'clock in the evening on 5th January 2005. It was on 5th January 2005. The world's most famous mummy. The world's most famous mummy. Gilded head. See, decorated. Glided head. See, gliding. First into the CT scanner. Moving into the CT scanner. Brought here to probe. Yes, to probe, to search or inquire the lingering medical mysteries. Remaining medical mystery. See, something very difficult to understand of this little understood young ruler. Little is known about this young ruler. So, mystery is going to be revealed about this little known ruler, young ruler of Egypt, a pharaoh, who died more than 3,300 years ago. So, when his body went into the CT scanner, the mystery was going to be revealed about this little known ruler of Egypt, the pharaoh, our Tutankhamun. As the story goes on, all afternoon, the usual line of tourists from around the world, there used to be a lot of good number of tourists around the world, had descended into that cramped rock-cut tomb. Cramped means congested. Not spacious, opposite of that. Congested rock-cut tomb. This tomb is cut in rock, full rock, preserved. Mummy preserved in rock. You see, rock-cut tomb. Tomb made of cutting rock. Okay, rock-cut tomb, some 26 feet underground. 26 feet underground. See how deep it is? 26 feet underground. Rock-cut tomb, 26 feet underground. To pay their respects. So people from all over the world coming to pay their respect, their homage to that unknown ruler, our Tutankhamun. Okay, they gazed at the murals. See, very decorative the entire tomb would be, with so many mural means paintings. On the side of it, many paintings would be there. On the walls of the burial chamber, it's not a small tomb, a burial chamber, like a big room. Burial chamber. Chamber means room. And Pierre Tut's, gilded face. They looked into the decorated face of, tomb, our Tut. The most striking feature of his mummy-shaped outer coffin lid. The most striking, the most attractive feature, speciality of his mummy-shaped in the form of shape of mummy, outer coffin lid. Yes, people all looked into that outer coffin lid, means covering, outer covering. So he is mummified. The body is shaped into that mummy shape, and people looked into that outer coffin lid. Lid means covering. See, covering of the coffin. Some visitors read in the guidebooks in a whisper. They would have some guidebooks, the visitors. They were reading that guidebooks in a whispering manner. Others stood silently. Other people stood silently, perhaps pondering, perhaps thinking about Tut's untimely death. How it happened, the untimely death of our Tut. Yes, in his late teens, late teenage, he died. Untimely death. Or wondering with a shiver. Or they might be wandering with a shiver. Shiver means a tremble. Tremble with fear. Is it not so? Shiver with cold and tremble with fear. You shiver with cold, but you tremble with the fear. That's what. So, a shiver if the pharaoh's curse. It is believed there is a curse. What is a curse? Death or misfortune. Death might fall or big misfortune might happen to you, I mean, upon those who disturbed him. Whoever disturbs the Pharaoh, his body, the mummy, death or big misfortune would fall upon him. There's a curse. So people were wondering whether was really true, whether this, I mean, curse that is being circulated, being spread is really true. Some of them were reading from the textbooks or the guidebooks. Some were wondering what was it that they were wondering. They were wondering whether the curse of Pharaohs, whether it was true or not. What is the curse? Death or misfortune falling upon. Death will fall upon, or at least misfortune will fall upon. Upon whom? Those who disturbed him. If you disturb him in his sleep, he is sleeping forever now. Rest in peace. Peace forever he is. So if you disturb him, you will have to suffer either misfortune, big misfortune. A calamity might happen to you if you disturb him in his peace, disturb his peace as he is sleeping in peace, rest in peace. Or even death might happen. There is a curse. Pharaoh's curse. Pharaoh's curse is that if you disturb him, death or misfortune might happen. So people were wondering whether this curse was true or not. They really were wondering whether the curse was true or not. Once go through the line. Yes. Where is it? Perhaps pondering means thinking about, pondering. Tut's untimely death. People were wondering and thinking about his untimely death in his late teenage. Teen means teenage. Or wondering with a shiver, wondering with a fear. They were wondering with a fear. If the Pharaoh's, if it was true, if the curse was true, what's the curse? Death or misfortune falling upon. Death will fall upon or misfortune will fall upon those who disturbed him. If you disturb him, death will fall upon, or at least some misfortune would fall upon. The story goes on. The mummy is in very bad condition. Yes. When our Tut was found out, discovered, the mummy was in a very bad condition. Because of what Carter did in 1920s. See, it was for the first time, one Mr. Carter we are going to see. It was discovered in the year 1920. Said Sahi Hawass, Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities. Antique means ancient. See, one who is in charge of antiquities, like museums and all, he will be in charge of antique, ancient things of history, etc. See, he was in charge of our Sahi Hawass. He said, what do you say? The mummy is in very bad condition. As he leaned over the body for the first look, he was leaning over the body to take a long look, first and a long look. Carter, Howard Carter, that is, yes, his full name was Howard Carter, was a British archaeologist. Who was he? A British archaeologist who in 1922, it was in 1922, a British archaeologist, and his name was Howard Carter. I repeat, in 1922, British archaeologist Howard Carter discovered the tomb of Tut for the first time. Discovered Tut's tomb after years of futile searching. He was searching for many years, long years. Though searching was all futile, means meaningless, of no use. But at the end, in the year 1922, he was able to find out, the body of our King Tut. Yes, its contents, though hastily ransacked in antiquity, means looted, plundered, were surprisingly complete. The looting was almost complete. They remain the richest royal collection ever found. It was a richest royal collection. Yes. And have become part of Pharaoh's legend. It has become part of the story of the pharaohs. In what way? Stunning artifices in gold. Artifice is something made of man. You see, I mean a human hand. It is not done by any machine. It was made of human hand. That is, I mean, facts in gold. Yes, the tomb and all those things were made of gold, made by man, handmade. See, the tomb and all these decorations, all these things were made by man himself, handmade. Their eternal brilliance meant the eternal brilliance because everything made of gold. The brilliance of the tomb, meant to guarantee resurrection. So they are buried in a stone tomb. And the coffin, that box where the dead body is placed and mummified, is full gold. Yes, it meant resurrection. Resurrection means what? Rising from the dead. Rising from the dead. Okay, and I just believe that Jesus Christ was resurrected on the third day, Easter celebration. So rising from the dead. So it is believed that, okay, now people who rise from the dead and live again, another life, a second life, eternal life, everlasting, then there is no death at all. Okay, so in the same way here, so this mummy and everything made of gold, is brilliance, guarantee that you have a second life and you can take all these things with you when you go for your second life. Yes, it is, resurrection is guaranteed. It caused a sensation at the time of the discovery. So it caused a great sensation at the time of the discovery of the dead body. Yes, and still get the most attention. Even now, it gets attention. Yes, but Tut was also buried with everyday things, not gold alone. So he was buried with the everyday, day-to-day things. He would want in the afterlife. All those things he would like to have in the afterlife, it was with him when he was buried. Board games, a bronze razor, linen undergarments, cases of food and wine. Whatever he liked when he was alive, it was all kept with the dead body, so that he can enjoy them all when he goes for his second life after the resurrection. Yes, rising after the death for another life. Okay, now maybe life in heaven, that we believe, people believe like that. So not only with the gold and precious things, but also with the day-to-day things of the world was there in the coffin of Tut. It was found. The story goes on. After months of carefully recording, after months of carefully recording the pharaoh's funerary treasures, funerary, burial, okay, now, treasures, never it's a treasure, is not so. Yes, Carter began investigating his 3 nested coffins. See, his tomb consisted of 3 layers of coffins. 3 coffins were there, not one. 3 coffins were there. Of course, in one coffin he would be buried. 2 more were there to carry all these precious belongings, gold and other valuable items. 3 like a nest, 3 layers of that a tomb. As in, began investigating his 3 nested coffins. Opening the first coffin, he found a shroud. Shroud means that cloth covering the dead body. Say when someone is dead, you can find, you might have seen at least in cinemas that doctors would cover the body with a white cloth. That's a shroud. Okay, now, where's that? Okay, so opening the first, he found a shroud adorned with the garlands of willow and olive leaves. This shroud was adorned with, decorated with, garlands of willow. There were many garlands, flowers of willow, you see, and olive leaves. Willow is a kind of plant, olive also a kind of plant. wild, celery is another kind of a herb, medicinal plant, lotus petals, petals of lotus flower, and cornflowers. So these things were there. You see, the fair evidence of a burial in March or April. So we can assume that the burial was done during the month of March or April. That is why, because during that time that these flowers appear. Cornflowers, then what? Wild celery, then olive leaves, lotus petals. Lotus would be there in every month because water is there. Okay, I don't know exact time. Anyhow, these flowers appear during the time of March or April. From the studying the flowers and the leaves and the plants, we can assume that our Tut was buried either in the month of March or in the month of April. When he finally reached the mummy, so discovering, when the archaeologist reached the mummy, though he ran into trouble, now he ran into trouble. In what way? The ritual resins. So I told once, what's that? Things used for embalming. Actually, secretion of many plants, that is. So they would use it. It's a long process to mummify a body. So this, resins had hardened. So they are liquids. Okay, now oily things. So it had hardened. Cementing Tut to the bottom of his solid golden coffin. So he was cemented. The body was cemented. You see, because these liquids, these oily things had been hardened, and together with that things, his body is cemented, as if we are applying cement to that. So cemented to the bottom part of his gold coffin. Yes, that coffin is that box in which the body is buried. No amount of legitimate force could move them. No amount of force can move this body from the coffin. It cannot be separated. It has been cemented. Because these liquids and oily things used for embalming or mummifying the body had been cemented to the bottom part of the body together with our Tut's dead body. Yes, Carter wrote later on he wrote that no amount of force can remove this body. What was to be done? So what can I do? He began pondering or thinking about. Let us go on the story, continue the story. The sun can beat down like a hammer this far south in Egypt. So the sunlight is a powerful force. It can beat like a hammer. In this part, far south of Egypt, it is so hot. So sunlight can work and it can beat like a hammer, he thought. And Carter tried to use it to loosen the resins. So he tried to loosen the resins, to separate the body from other things that was used for, mummifying. He tried to separate them using sunlight. For several hours, he set the mummy outside. So in order to separate it, he put them in the sunlight for several hours in blazing sunshine, in blazing, burning sunlight that heated it to 149 degree Fahrenheit. So it began, heating the body, that body at a temperature of 149 degrees Fahrenheit. Nothing budged, nothing changed. Even then, the body could not be separated. He reported with a scientific detachment that the consolidated material had to be chiseled away. Mistaken using some chisel, using that it can be separated. Okay, now cutting and removing. So chiseled away using a chisel from beneath the limbs and trunk before it was possible to raise the king's remaining. So he came to conclusion that it cannot be simply removed. It should be cut and removed in parts. Otherwise it cannot be separated. Yes. Let us continue with the story. So shall we go on a little more? In 2 videos we have to complete one story. Okay, the remaining we will complete tomorrow or tomorrow next video. Okay, so go through the lesson once again. So let us meet in the second video. Thank you.